Clog TV.
Beyond the policy.
Hey, welcome back to the KOKO Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the KOKO Digest Morning Show, and you missed a very, very important topic on the lifestyle segment, that is basic forms of financial management. So, of course, you can always catch up on our Facebook and YouTube live stream. Yes, now we're about to have our main discussion, and today's topic is definitely something that a lot of people would be interested in. So don't forget to send in your comments, your questions. You can even call in, and our numbers are displayed on the screen, our WhatsApp number, and even the call number. And of course, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can send in your questions and your comments there as well. So today's topic is a healthy marriage, how to build and maintain it. And our guest is in the person of Mrs. Hannah Abraham-Zapiah. And Mrs. Hannah Abraham-Zapiah is a geologist and an environmentalist by training. And she also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in geology, an MPhil in environmental science, and a Master of Arts in ministry in pastoral care and the counseling option. She's currently a pastor with the King's General's International Church, and she is also a destiny coach and the missions director of the Holy Worldwide Revival Missions. The servant of God is married to Pastor Eric Abraham-Zapiah, and he is the lead pastor of the Holy Worldwide Revival Missions. And they are blessed with 2 wonderful daughters and have adopted and nurtured many others. She has authored and published 7 books. 2 titles have been translated into French, and 2 devotionals. So some of her books include Get It Right, Marriage is Not a Game of Chance. The second one is Throwback, The Effect of Our Yesterdays on Our Tomorrows. The third one is Stages. The fourth one is Young and Single. And the fifth one is It Is Never Late. The sixth one is Things I Wish I Knew Before I Went for Missions. Then the 7th is Identity Theft. And then, of course, the Think Deep devotional. So you can see that this is a very, very learned woman. She's experienced in the field. So yes, let's get to meet her. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Yaira. Thank you too.
So I think I want to ask a little bit for your background. Being an environmentalist and geologist, how do you even balance both the pastoral and counseling with the environmentalist and geologist?
Okay, interesting question. As an environmentalist and a geologist, that was my training.
Okay.
So you go to school, you get a degree, and you get the learning that you can use for sustenance and for passion and for love. So I was working with the Environmental Protection Agency for a number of years. But at the same time, because of purpose, I have been working with young people for years. So gradually with time, I fully diverted from career in terms of working with EPA into ministry.
Okay,
so right now I do full-time ministry, youth counseling, marriage, and personal development especially.
Okay, then we'll have you back for other conversations. Today's one is just marriage. So what would you define a healthy marriage as?
When we say something is a healthy marriage, let's just pick the words.
Okay.
When you talk of something is healthy, something is in a good state, something is as intended to be, okay? So a healthy person, it means that person is in a good state, mentally, physically, the cells are working. And when you talk of marriage, it's a mixing 2 people. When I say I'm using the word mixing or coming together of 2 people, male and female, in a holy word lock, in an agreement, in a union that has witnesses with God as the factor. Now, you find out that a healthy marriage means that 2 people are coming together and they are in a state of togetherness, oneness. There's a beautiful unifying force that keeps them stable, sane in all aspects of their life. Okay. So that is what, in simple language, I can say is a healthy marriage.
Okay.
Good.
So what are some of the essential elements that constitute a healthy marriage? Aside all that you've mentioned, I'm sure, I mean, between the couple, there should be a few things, or? Very
important. Between a couple, the very important things for a healthy marriage is there must be effective communication, because communication acts as the base or the glue or the foundation for that marriage. Yeah. Because two people cannot live together without communicating. And you know all the aspects of communication, verbal, non-verbal, at all levels, mentally, physically, spiritually. We should be able to communicate. I could be sitting here and I may not see anything, but you know, we communicate with a smile, with our body language and everything. So healthy communication is an important factor in a healthy marriage. Then transparency, trust, they are key components in a healthy marriage. Then the unity, you can find out that these two people are unified on all fronts. Unity in terms of the way they think, in terms of finances, in terms of decision making, in terms of planning projects, all those areas that come to play in their marriage. There's a lot of unity, there's a lot of agreement. There's also a very key component in building a healthy marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the things like the roles that each couple is supposed to play? How does that constitute to a healthy marriage? Because I mean, now we have all kinds of opinions about what the man should do, what the woman should do. How does that work?
Okay. You see, you used a word that made me smile. You said roles that each party is supposed to play. And this is what happens. And that has brought in a lot of the conversations we find going around. Basically, males and females were created differently. And based on our nature, our functions are also different. So you find out that males are more brute in terms of muscle strength. So there are certain roles and responsibilities males do easily. Women also have not the same strength physically, but they also are intuitive. They are more complex in design. And so their functions are different. Yeah. So women take seed, they carry pregnancy, they nurture, they nurse babies. Men don't do that. Yeah. But when the baby is born, the men can come along, help, take care of the baby. But you find out that that intuition, that mothering nature, it's more for the women. And then that brings about the role responsibility. So the male is usually the leader, the head, the hunter, the one who goes in search, the provider. So that's role definition of the man is the head of the home, the provider for the family. He makes sure his family has what to eat, where to stay, security. That is the definition we have grown up with, we have known that the male role is. And the woman is the homemaker. She's the one who beds the babies, takes care of the home, makes sure that when the hunter comes, there is food. That is how society birthed and grew up. But now we find ourselves in an evolving, globalizing society where today, post-World War, that's where it all started. Yeah. When most of the men went for war, you find out that a lot of women who used to be at home now had to take up the jobs in the factories. Yes. They took up a lot of male responsibilities to be able to earn money, keep the systems running, and take care of their families. Now, when the males returned, these females now had already developed those skills. Yes. So now many women now have taken on both roles. They still have the nurturing role, taking care of their children, but at the same time,
they can also provide.
They have to go back to the work they are providing. And now because of the economy, because of financial responsibilities, many homes find themselves where males and females are working, pulling in resources together and to be able to take care of the home. But the roles, basic roles don't change. The male still, irrespective of the woman supporting financially, still has to take care of the pregnancy. So now traditional roles exist, but every couple now has to come to agreements and compromises on how we want our marriage to work. Because if I'm expecting my wife to come home at 8 p.m. and start preparing food for the children, the children who close school at 4,
Yes.
and the husband maybe has a job, maybe as a lecturer or a teacher, and closes early, could have done something for the children between 4 and 8 p.m., why not? So this is where the conversation comes in between couples.
Okay.
So when you get stuck in that traditional role and mentality and ideology of, oh, this is a woman's job description and this is a man's job description, then you may start having an unhealthy marriage.
Okay. Okay. That was very beautiful, because it turns out that still, even most of the people in the religious, or who are coming from the religious angles, tend to keep reiterating certain traditional things. But I love the fact that you have incorporated a modernization into it, and then the fact that these are skills that are learned.
Yeah.
So yes, the woman can do some of these things, and then, you know, it just has to be a conversation between the couple that, you know, just because you're helping me out does not mean that you are the head, or, you know, I can't also help you out, you know, that thing. Because a lot of the conversations these days, the example you gave was perfect, where some of the men who come back from work earlier than them, but they're still expecting their wives to come back from work at whatever late hour to come and still do their wife role, that traditional wife role, when it's a skill they could have also learned. And I thank you so much for that. I have another question. So how does conflict resolution come to play in a healthy marriage?
Wonderful. So basically, when we talk of conflicts, it's two people that are not agreeing on a particular issue, and conflicts are basically misunderstandings. And wherever two people are, there will be misunderstandings, because our personalities, our upbringings, our worldviews are different. So we may not see eye to eye in certain areas. It is how we will now discuss and compromise and learn to understand. So conflicts in marriage are bound to happen, because misunderstandings may rear its head because of the way our approaches to life are. But when they happen, what makes a conflict create an unhealthy marriage is when it is not handled properly. But when conflicts arise, or when misunderstandings arise, you sit down, depending on your communication methodology and style, you sit down and try to understand your partner by active listening, transparent and clear communication. So communicate what the problem is. Ask the right questions. How did you understand this? Why is this a problem? Can we do it this way? When you are able to properly explain the problem and then come to a compromise, there will be no conflict. Let me go and give you another example. You find out that certain couples in typical African settings hold fast to these traditional rules.
Yes.
This same couple moves from Africa and goes to Europe, and they go to school. That same husband will do the roles which are traditionally female roles in Africa in Europe, because everybody's work schedule is such that one goes in the morning, one goes at night. Most often the husband does night, the wife does day. And you find out the husband comes home, and during the day, he's doing the babysitting, the nursing roles, the cooking and cleaning, which if the same person was in Africa, may not have lifted his hand. So sometimes environments and culture even affects our behavior in marriage. So I tell people sometimes, your marriage may be doing badly in a particular environment. Move that marriage into another space. You'll be surprised that the couples will do well. So how we resolve conflicts, basically, it's communication, transparency, understanding, compromise, learning to see eye to eye with the other partner, and then helping yourself to grow so that you don't remain fixed in your beliefs. Because sometimes people don't change because, it must be like this. Banku must be made on the coal pot, not on the gas. The taste is different.
Yes. So, you see, there's also this notion that whenever you fight with your spouse, you don't need to tell your friends or your family, because when you forgive your spouse, your family, they've not forgiven the person or forgotten. So in a conflict, when is it appropriate to involve a third party so that the issue can be resolved?
Okay, conflicts will arise, like I said. But ideally, each one of us has been given innate skills. God has put it in us to be able to resolve by mutual understanding. But you find out that sometimes some of the conflicts become difficult.
Yes.
Everybody takes an entrenched position or based on their understanding or perspectives, it's not working. Now, conflict resolution may need what do you call it? Mediation. And when you need to mediate, there are people who can help in mediation. So either you go for a proper counselor or you go for somebody who is wise. You know, those wise old women. Friends, family, siblings have attachments to their person. So it could be the female or the male. So yes, I'm going through a problem and my friend has been my sounding board over the years.
Yeah.
So I go back to my friend and I'm like, Ayura, ABCD. My husband doesn't want banku and it's becoming an issue. What do we do? And so you give me an idea and you're like, how can he not like banku in this country? And we are on and on about it. But like you said, we will now resolve our issue in the bedroom or at home. Then the friend doesn't forget about it. So it is normally advised that don't take your issues to your friends. Take your issues to counselors who are credible. I'm emphasizing on that. Some people may go to pastors, and the pastors have been given to us to help in counsel, but not all of them are specialized.
Okay.
Not all of them are trained, because you can tell your case to a pastor, and the next preaching, that will be what will be used. And you can tell it to your friend, and the next discussion meeting at a family, it will be used.
Yeah.
So if you don't use people who understand the skill of confidentiality, who are mature enough to know that we are preserving each other, then you're going to have a problem. And it's not wrong to speak up. It's not wrong. Some people find it so difficult to be vulnerable about a conflict or a problem that they are going through. So they give the impression that, oh, I have a perfect marriage, everything is going well, and they are suffering. The problem in that case is gradually you, the party who is going through the crisis, will have a mental breakdown at one point in time, and it could be irreversible. But it could easily have been dealt with, because sometimes all you need is an advice or an alternative way to approach that particular conflict. So be careful the third party you bring into resolving conflict issues. And even before marriage, agree with your spouse who you intend to talk to whenever there's a challenge. When you do that, it becomes very easy.
So with that, if my spouse and I, we've agreed that we'll be talking to Mrs. Abrams Apia, and maybe for certain, as you said, we have different personalities. So for selfish reasons or for wanting to be right, the least thing I run and come and tell you, reporting him, something like that, wouldn't that maybe prevent the marriage from being healthy, or is that allowed?
There's nothing like something is allowed or something is not allowed. It's good to understand that because we are unique individual personalities, our ability to handle stress varies. Our coping skills are not the same. Somebody who runs with every little thing to a partner may not have that coping skill to handle the responsibilities and the realities of marriage. So if that counselor she goes to is a good one, you would immediately help her to develop her skills to handle the issues herself. That is the skill she or he needs. Because you see, many people don't understand. Let me now use a biblical quote. It says, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. So there's a stage where you are going to move from dependence on your parents, on people, on others, to become independent. A mature person who is ready to marry is somebody who can take independent decisions, handle problems independently. If every time somebody has to come in then you are not mature in the first place to have even bothered to get married.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So, with conflicts again, are there maybe certain issues that are, so to speak, non-negotiable, where forgiving or giving grace to your partner is not, it shouldn't be part of the options?
What would you call non-negotiable, or what would you call completely out of the question? Because once you get married, you are going to meet different scenarios in marriage that will bring conflict. It could be financial, like the segment that just ended,
Yes.
which is actually one of the major. It could be communication, unexpected, uncommunicated expectations. It's actually one of the #1 causes of divorce.
Oh, okay.
It's not even marriage. Uncommunicated expectations. As you are sitting here, in case you are not married, or if you are married, there are some expectations you expect from the man.
Yes.
And he's also expecting certain things from you, but he may never tell you. And that can become a problem. Now, what is it? He went into adultery, he had children out there, he murdered somebody. What is it that cannot be forgiven? So when we bring the clause of forgiveness, everything can be forgiven. But you will find out that people get into marriage and abuse takes place. Now, abuse, when a life is at stake, now becomes something where we need to re-evaluate the life that is at stake. So if, for example, a man is being threatened by his wife, she wants to kill him. Usually we talk the contrary, so I'm going on the other side. She wants to kill him. She's always on his case. Such a man will be advised to stay away from the person who has become abusive, who has become a threat to his life and survival. Those are the things, even that act can be forgiven. Forgiving is one thing, but staying together is another.
Yeah,
so you can forgive him, yes, but you may not necessarily have to still be in the same space. We heard last year or two about a lady whose husband threatened her. The siblings didn't come for her. They left her. He killed her.
Yes, the musician.
Is it the musician, the pastor?
Okay, I know the musician, Eku, the lady who sang the Eku.
Yeah, hers was an emotional abuse, and she died supposedly of a medical cause, but I think it was prolonged stress that resulted in that. But there's another case of a pastor in the US who actually gunned down his wife or something like that.
Wow.
So in such cases, when abuse is prolonged, is continuous, is not being resolved, sometimes you may have to move out of the space of the relationship or marriage so that you could help both parties grow and then come back to the ability to stay together or permanently separate.
So even with moving, to moving out of that space, there have been cases where whoever it is, the abuser, will still be stalking you, looking for you to, try to harm you. So in a situation like that, you involve the counselor and things, and then they talk to both of you, and it's like, after everything, it's like, this man was willing to go and find me even in Nalerigu. I've left Accra to the north, and he still followed me there just to try to harm me. As a normal human being, wouldn't it be difficult to forgive or to even want to stay with that person?
It's going to be tough. It happens, and that's usually a trace of narcissism. Some people are narcissists. They don't even know. They just become very revengeful. Now, marriage situations have a way of bringing out sometimes the best and the worst in people. Because remember, somebody gave this illustration. When two stones rub against each other, it gets hot. Sometimes it sparks fire. That's what happens to two people. Two personalities' beliefs. They can spark a lot of fire among themselves, and all they needed was water to cool it, which they may not have had. So the water in my case is the word of God. It will cool it down. But because they didn't have the water, they get on each other's nerves. They touch their raw valves, and everybody wants to revenge. It can be difficult, but forgiveness is possible. And then you will learn to move on. Some are not able to move on. They still feel they own you, especially if you were a lifeline There are some women who were the, what do you call it, cash cows in the family. So the man cannot understand why she's left. It's not about her, it's about the money she's taking. She was working and he was living lavishly. Now she's left the marriage. He doesn't want her. He wants her
the
money.
benefits, yes.
So he sees her as a thief who has actually gone away with his benefits.
Oh, I see.
So perspectives.
Okay. So are healthy marriages always happy?
A healthy marriage is always happy. Happy. When you say happy, what are you talking about? Because happy is an emotional state.
Yes, that's why I'm asking, because you know we always hear healthy, happy marriage. It's always related to, so to speak, a more positive.
Yeah.
Yes, I think maybe there's continuous laughter or something. But
Yeah.
in the absence of the laughter, can there be a marriage that may not look as though it is happy, but it is healthy?
Yeah. There are marriages that are healthy, but happiness stems from two different people and the way their emotions are expressed. So they may not necessarily have laughter ringing out in their home on a daily basis, but they don't have problems.
Okay.
Okay. They may not be the fun-loving type of personalities, but they are okay. And so it depends, again, like I said, on the people. But they are peaceful. They are together. Then we have also couples who are friends. They are the expressive type. They are laughing. Everything looks like it's okay for them. They don't have a problem. But ideally, when there's a healthy marriage, the main key is peace.
Peace, okay.
There'll be no storm. They are peaceful. They understand each other. Then it goes to the plus where, like we are, they are happy. They're all over. They are. Don't look at a marriage on social media and think that it's a happy marriage.
Okay.
Just like studios are staged and dramas are staged, a lot of things out there are staged.
You mentioned peace, and it reminded me of conflict resolution in school, where there's negative peace and then there's positive peace. So if there is peace, it looks like there is peace, but this peace is basically that they are walking on eggshells around each other or something. They know that there are, what's the word? Is it landmines all over the place?
Landmines, exactly.
How about that?
Yeah, so that is not a healthy marriage. Any marriage with landmines all around is not a healthy marriage. It means that there's a problem that needs to be resolved. But the problem may either be a no-go area, or they don't know how to resolve it. And then, because I'm a pastor, they are both physical, there are also spiritual dimensions to conflicts in marriage. Okay. So there are some you just cannot explain, the attacks that you just realize that this one is no longer A, B, C, D. You just can't put a finger to it. And it involves a lot of prayer. That's why you find out a lot of people go for prayer and believe that God can change things. Because you may just be getting angry and you don't even know why you are getting angry. Yeah. Something is really at stake.
You see, even with couples, let's say based on how well you know your partner, it's like there are certain, maybe certain personal characteristics of mine that it seems that when it comes to my partner, I cannot feel free and express myself in that way because there's going to be an erratic or negative response from my partner. Is that something that can also cause the marriage to be unhealthy?
Oh, yes. Okay. Definitely, because we react differently to different situations. If we understand very well and accept that marriage is made up of two people, two complete different personalities. Some are calm, some are agitated, some are harsh, abrasive. If you use the different personality theories that already exist, you would know that no two people will react to a situation the same way. Somebody will be excited about a new cloth, and another will be like, that's too much money. And you are like, oh, you've killed my joy. No, I'm calculating the money. I need it for school fees in September. Why did you buy clothes for me? In simple things like this. But it's because our personalities react to things so differently. And it could be an issue. Let me just give a practical case I used in one of my books. My husband is a missionary, and we went to a country. And they gave him a gift of bushmeat. But in this case, it was monkeys, roasted monkeys. When they brought it home and I saw it, I was scared. I screamed. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, why are you reacting that way? It's a beautiful gift. Receive it. And he was smiling. And I was like, no, I don't want it in my house. Let it leave. Just somebody's gift. Now, how would even the person who gave me the gift feel?
Yeah.
You feel so offended that, oh, this woman, this was so expensive. And that's what happens in marriage. People react to different scenarios based on their person, their nature, their belief. And those can be conflicts, and they keep continuing. They can't handle it. One can still not adjust. Then there becomes a problem permanently in that relationship.
Okay. So we have to take a quick break. Please don't forget to send in your questions to our live stream on Facebook and YouTube, Clog TV, and also our WhatsApp number. You can also call in to ask your questions. I know you probably have all kinds of questions to ask our madam here. So right after this break, we will get back into the conversation and then take your questions as well. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the KOKO Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the KOKO Digest Morning Show, and we are having our main discussion on how to build and maintain a healthy marriage with Mrs. Hannah Abraham Zapia, and she is a pastor and a counselor. She's the one educating us, informing us on all the things we need to know about maintaining and building a healthy marriage. So, my madam, what role, or okay, let me even just make it basic. What are temperaments and what role do they play in a marriage?
So our temperaments are basically our innate nature and emotional differences. My husband uses an easy definition. I prefer that one. He says the temperature of the soul. Some are so hot and some are so cold. So basically your temperament is a combination of factors. Your emotional aversions, your reaction to things, the character traits. Is a blend of so many things. And it is very important to understand this temperament aspect of life, because in marriage, two people coming together with two complete temperaments. Now, your temperament is something you are born with, but your personality is developed with time, because your upbringing, your nature, your temperament can increase certain strengths and then make you better in your weaknesses. But depending on how you grew up or the environment you were born in, your personality may be very strong in certain areas, but may be weak in others. Now, when people don't know basically who they are and they get married, they expect another person to understand them. When they carry in the body, they don't understand themselves. And so, why do I get so happy easily? Why do I want to help people? Why do I get so upset? Why am I so orderly? Why am I so, somebody says, laid back? These are all temperamental differences. The basic four we know are the sanguines, the cholerics, the phlegmatics, the melancholics. And each of these blends come in blends. You can have predominant personality traits, recessive personality traits. So you may find somebody who is a sanguine, but he has a choleric recessive trait, or predominantly melancholic, but with a recessive phlegmatic trait. Now, even with that, you can also now find people who may be maybe even a phlegmatic, but grew up with a choleric parent. So she has an adapted choleric trait, which is not actually who he or she is, but is learned. And others too have repressive personalities, because you grew up in a family where there are certain things you can't do. So even though you are very expressive, you learn to keep quiet. You learn to keep quiet. Now, such a person gets married with a very repressive personality and doesn't even know that her upbringing or his upbringing has created that nature or secondary nature. Then we get into an environment where now that real nature is able to thrive. suddenly your spouse will be, you changed. You didn't change. The environments are different.
Okay.
And so one environment makes your personality thrive, makes it bloom, or it makes you actually kind of laid back. But that's not who you really are. So marriage helps gradually brings out the worst or the best in you.
Yes.
So in marriage, you find out that if the person you married is mature, is accommodating, it's, what do you call it? Is loving, that person will nurture the best out of you. Because remember, we are growing.
Yeah.
All of us are work in progress. Let me borrow a term from Marriage Connect. We are work in progress. And as we keep progressing in our self-development, in our knowledge, in our skill acquisition, we will be improving. We will be letting go of certain basic flaws that we may have had. There are certain things that may not change. Your basic traits, if you meet a choleric leader, they are goal-getters, they are strict. Some call them abrasive. They are fighters. They don't really care too much about how they got the results. And so somebody will say they step on people's emotions to get it. Imagine you marry a man like that, and you're a child or a lady. Women are very emotional. Women love to be cared. We love to be loved. Women can be very sensitive. And I love your smile, Yaira. And then you marry somebody with that abrasive personality. Gradually, that person will be stepping on your emotions unconsciously. And with time, you find out that that will be a wounded person. You could also find a female who is abrasive, choleric, with a male partner who is very phlegmatic and laid back, very gentle. And the wife looks like she's so disrespectful because culturally, when you are a woman, I say this jokingly, but culture has made it look like when you're a woman, you must have a predominant phlegmatic trait. You must be calm, you must be laid back, you must be, then you are a woman. When you are assertive, then it's like you are manifesting male traits. But why blame that girl? She was born that way.
Yes.
That's her nature. So what she now needs to do is use wisdom and what do you call it? Growth, what do you call it? Intentional growth skills to put some of the tough personality traits not in a recessive position, but know how to manage it. Else it becomes like there are two leaders, because she's a leader by birth. But your husband is now a leader by role.
Yes. Okay.
Else there'll be two personality leadership clashes in the home. And then the husband also, when he understands that this is my wife, she's a born leader. Well, I am the leader technically, but I'm going to allow her to use her skills and her strength to push me to shine forth. It comes back to communication and understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask, are some of these temperaments maybe so compatible and some not compatible? Like something like a sanguine and then a choleric. Something like that. Would you say, because I think there should be some range, right? Where some may be closer to be more compatible than others. If you can give...
Personally, I don't know of any compatibility or non-compatibility of personalities. I just know that irrespective of the personalities that come together, there will always be differences. No two personalities are the same. And so compromise is always the key in understanding and then finding out what exactly is it about that person. Remember, we are there to complement each other. So what I don't have, you have. So a choleric leader may need a sanguine leader because a sanguine person may be the social person to his life, because most of them don't really have a social life. And then if I have a phlegmatic person, you need a choleric person to keep you pushing. Can you imagine two phlegmatic people in a home? Everything will come to a standstill because procrastination can be one of their major weaknesses. Or a melancholic who is a perfectionist. The way you sit, the way you dress, the way you eat, the way you hold your fork, everything becomes overly critical. It is not that they are being critical. They just want everything to be perfect. So there will always be conflicts with two personality clashes. But compromise, understanding, and looking at the bigger picture, some of the things are not big deal breakers. And so we shouldn't make them deal breakers.
Okay. So we have a few questions coming in. So this one says, good morning, Yaira. Could you please help me ask here, how can one support a partner in managing jealousy and overprotectiveness caused by trauma from a previous relationship while also maintaining healthy boundaries in the marriage?
Baggages, I call them, and trauma. Many people grow up with trauma. Children from our homes, marriages we saw our parents, saw our aunties having, already traumatized us, and we don't even know we are traumatized. I think years ago, words like trauma, emotional instabilities were not common terminologies, even though people may have been going through them. So now people get married and they may have had broken relationships because it was abusive or it was not fair, it was... and they carry that trauma into their new marriages. And then now your partner becomes a victim of that's your trauma. First and foremost, if you have a good relationship, back to the healthy relationship, you draw your partner's attention that he needs help. And wife or husband, stop trying to be a savior to your spouse. They may not take it from you, even though they have a problem. In case they allow you to, then you can help guide them out of that traumatic problem. But if they can't, they need to get a counselor to help them so that that trauma, that baggage that they have carried into their relationship can go. Your first girlfriend or first wife cheated on you. It doesn't make your next girlfriend, who is now your wife, a cheat. And so when you see her speaking to a male person, then you become so... Some people are so intrusive. They are overly jealous, very insecure. And these are all signs of high insecurity. So we need to find out what caused the insecurity. Usually it could have been because they didn't get love growing up, they were disappointed so much, they were put down, and they didn't know they had developed insecurity traits. And insecure people can be very difficult to deal with. They manifest traits of jealousy, they manifest traits of anger, they manifest traits of suspicion and doubt. And it can be so antagonizing when you hang around such people.
So with something like the background where they grew up, where they, with the marriage they saw between their parents, for someone who has been, you know, affected by the kind of marriage, even for their parents. I think even yesterday, my colleagues and I were talking about some tribes and how their men are not, or the women in that tribe are always saying the men from that same tribe are a no-go for them because of their fathers that they saw growing up and things like that. So as a lady or as a guy, you saw your mother being a certain way to your father or your father being a certain way to your mother. How do you manage that kind of trauma in marriage, you know, getting into marriage or even while being in marriage?
You, the individual, you play a very critical role in the success of your marriage. And so sometimes you need to do an introspection, a self-search, and find out, what were the things that affected me growing up? What did I see? What were the traits? And what did I desire? There's a difference between what you saw growing up and you developed hatred for. And then now many people create a make-believe world in their minds. So there's this ideal man, ideal marriage that they create. And anything short of that ideal man or ideal marriage is a no-no area. The fact that your father was from a particular tribe and did A, B, C, D to your mom does not guarantee that another man for that tribe will do X, Y, Z to you.
But what if your parents' story is not the only story you've heard? You have heard it countless times.
You may have heard it countless times because, yes, every tribe seems to have a certain pattern in behavior. You would have heard that certain tribes, I think I can use that example, like Ewes, are hardworking. I've heard that example and I love it. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I have.
Yes. And I'm always like, well, to me personally, I think it's true because the friends I have and the marriages I've seen in that tribe, a lot of the male partners are hardworking. For the negatives, I cannot put out or I cannot say because I don't have data to back. But the one I have heard, which is good, I can share. There's the other tribes we have all over, and everybody has different perspectives. But your perspectives does not make it right or wrong.
Okay.
So your father may have grown up in a particular generation and a particular upbringing. And that's why that whole generation may be behaving in that way. But your generation may be different. So don't cut people out because of a particular belief system.
Okay.
Deal with the person as an individual and give the person an option, unless the person has started manifesting those traits. If the person has, remember he was also brought up by somebody like that, then there's a problem.
Okay. So my cherished viewers, our phone lines are open, so we are waiting to receive your calls for your questions and also your comments to our madam here. So I have another question. Hey, you these people. How do we deal with partners who do not want the other partner to achieve higher heights in life due to their insecurities? This is from Sewa Kuto from Kumasi.
When you are dating or you are courting, when you notice that a partner has that tendency, you must think and consider carefully before you make that decision. But this is where the problem happens. During dating and courtship, many people follow the emotions, the love, the feelings, the giftings, and the branding, the image, and forget to ask pertinent and real-life questions. And then after they get married, they want to do personal development, they want to go to school, then there's a conflict. Because one, some males are insecure, and so are some women, females. Then there's also role and responsibilities. Children need to be taken care of. When you start wanting to go do further studies, who is going to be responsible? And certain people shelf their responsibility on the other. Just knowing that you are there makes me take on extra responsibility because you will handle. So unconsciously, one party gets burdened with extra responsibility. First, you were single. All you do, take care of yourself. Now you have 3 children. You have things to wash. You have their homework to do. You have to think for 3 other people plus yourself. When can you get extra time to do self-development? Now, both people need self-development. Whose is priority, his or mine?
Okay.
And
so
this is where the conflict comes in.
let's put a pin in that quickly. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Oh, okay. My name is Samuel, calling from Buta Region, Akachi.
Okay. Your question, please.
Yeah. Good morning to you all. I really love our madam who talk about how both region people have been hardworking. I really love that for her. I really love that. My question is that, what if you are dating a partner that you do care about your partner every day, but she doesn't care about you? You've been loyal to her. She's not loyal to you. What will you do about that?
So his question, he says, if you're always caring about your partner, but it seems she doesn't, what do you do about the loyalty and all that?
What do you do about it? You see, in terms of caring about one partner or the other, that brings us to the issue of love languages. What is your definition of caring? So maybe you are providing, maybe you are expressing love verbally, maybe you are there present. But the wife may not express her love language in the same way you. If you ask her or that partner her side of the story, she may also say she is, but you are not. So question, we know the basic, Gary Chapman proposes basic 5 theories: touch, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gifts. What makes you feel loved? Somebody loves gifts. You must give me gifts. One of my sisters, I don't know if she's watching me, she loves flowers. Everybody knows she loves flowers. And I'm like, what are you doing with flowers? Give me my money. And we'll be going back and forth about pollen, too much pollen in the house. Another person wants presence. Come and stay with me. Spend 2-3 hours. Another person wants touch. Want you to hug me. Another person wants words. I know a sister who says, when you write words to her, don't send me an emoji. I spent time to write to you, and then you reply with an emoji.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning, and your name and where you're calling from, please. Hello. Hello. Okay, it seems we may have lost the caller. So there's also another question here. This one says, my husband is abusive, but I still love him. What can I do? He's my first love, And he's been he's been so good to me and my family. This is anonymous. And she also has a comment, Momo is my love language. I feel you. So yes, her husband is abusive, but she loves him. He's her first love. He's also been very good to her and her family. So in a situation like this, how should she handle this?
So this is a woman who is obviously in an emotional attachment phase. She's so emotionally attached to that person, such that even his abusive acts is being contained. Now the question is, what is she calling abuse? In which area?
So they say we have a caller on the line, so we'll come back to this. Yes, hello, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Solid calling from Ayamas.
Okay, your question, please.
I would like to ask Mommy, I've been with my fiancé for 3 years now, and we are planning to get married. But I have this particular issue about her, which I really want Mommy to give me advice on.
Okay.
She's a very good woman for that. I'll not dispute that. But she doesn't know how to talk and doesn't respect.
She doesn't know how to what?
How to talk and doesn't respect.
Okay.
Very interesting question. I feel your concern and thank you for sharing. That's a very sincere and a heartfelt request. Now, when you say a person doesn't know how to talk, you will find out that people have preconceived ideas of this is an acceptable way of talking. Yeah. Society has ways that are all right, acceptable and not acceptable. Back to our upbringing, the way we grow up, children are born tabula rasa. They don't have anything in them. But they pick up what they find in the environment they grow up in. So they grow up in an environment where everybody is forthright, shouting, they speak loud. That learned way of speaking is learned. The same way that person can unlearn. Yeah. So you find out that their emotional intelligence skills, how to control your anger, how to speak. So she may sound disrespectful because that's how she grew up. Nobody may have told her, don't say this, don't do that, don't act this way. If I collect money with my left hand in Ghana from an adult, they will tell me I am disrespectful. But culturally, in other African countries, left and right is not a problem. Yes. So what you are calling disrespectful requires that call the lady and have that conversation. Tell her that per my nature or the new family I'm going to create, this is what I think is a standard acceptable way of talking. The way you talk, this is how you are. I like you, but this is how you already are. But I wish you could change that way of talking because I find it abrasive, offensive, or I don't like it. Okay. And he may also be offended by that way of talking because he may have grown up in a home where his mother was maybe calm, environment cool, very respectful. If he had grown up in her home, it would have been so normal. He may not even have found her talking as disrespectful because the way he claims she's disrespectful, in her home it may be okay. It's probably normal. So we have to learn and unlearn and improve.
So we have another caller on the line. Hello, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Please,
Could you speak up, please?
My name is Edmond. I'm calling from KOKO.
Okay, your question.
Please. I just don't know how to say it, but I have dated only once. Like the lady I was dating with me had a lot of problems. But right now I'm not dating anymore, but I really want to marry. So is it good for me to just go straight and marry, or should I study a little bit before I marry her?
Okay. He says he dated once, he's no longer dating, but he wants to get married. And so should he just up and go marry, or he should find somebody and then court and study first?
I would advise that first and foremost, he should assess himself if he's in a stable and a mature state for marriage. Be sure why he wants to get into marriage. People want to get into marriage without really knowing why. When your why is not strong, when the challenges and conflicts come, you would want to walk out. So a strong why for getting married is not just I feel I need a wife, but you must know why you want to get married. And then now identify somebody suitable to complement you. Somebody who will complement you is very important. What do you think I need somebody to complement me for? Somebody who can love me, understand me, share with me, rub minds together, share our lives together. That's what the person needs. When you identify that person, then begin a courtship. Few months, get to know each other, hot spots, anger spots, conflicts, possible conflict areas. Can we handle character? Values are key things to look out for. When those are set and you believe that there's an emotional feeling growing and a liking for that person, why not? You get into that marriage.
No, okay, wow. So we didn't finish the conversation about the husband being abusive, but she still loves. Oh no, it was rather the. Hey, wait.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, the husband being abusive, but she still loves him, and
yeah.
he's her first love. He's been good to her and her family. Something like that.
And so that's what I was saying earlier, that the emotional attachment. So she loves him maybe because of what he does for her and the family. Maybe financially, he gives her money. Since Momo is her language, it's maybe he answers that for her. But how is he abusive? Is it verbal abuse, physical abuse, or something exactly, maybe the abusive cause, but she feels she can tolerate it because her benefits outweigh the abuse?
Or what if it could even just be guilt? You know, maybe she wants to leave, but she said he's been good to her and her family. So probably maybe some financial situations, or even he provided some sort of comfort and care during a very trying time, maybe some bereavement or something. And then she still wants to find out a way around it, even though he's abusive.
Very good. Now, abuse, depending on the extent, should not be tolerated. Else you yourself, your mental health will be affected. Now, it also depends, like I said, are they married or they are just in a courtship?
She's a husband.
So husband, that's why you make the decisions very early. If it gets to a certain stage, she needs to get counsel or get help. Get the right person to advise her. Some of the things people are calling abuse could actually be easily overlooked. It may be just excess demands we may be making. But if we look at the abuse and the extent, maybe he's beating her, slapping her, or insulting her, or neglecting her, and then those ones are creating a problem, then we need to see how we can counsel. But
some of the psychological abuse too can end up affecting her physically.
Those are the worst ones.
Yes.
Those are the worst ones.
Because it seems as though we're always mentioning the domestic abuse, like the physical abuse, but nobody really seems to want to talk about the emotional parts of that kind of abuse, where he puts you down, your esteem is down in hell. It's not even on the ground.
It's terrible.
Yes, but before we continue, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Kojo.
Okay.
Calling from Volta region.
Okay. Volta region. Yes, your question, please.
Yes. Thank you very much. I just ran into the program. I didn't really get the topic, but I can really resonate with the topic, the theme. What happened was that I dated a lady in the past, and I was in love with her, actually. But this lady wasn't too sure, even though I had a lady. I had a lady first before I met her, fell in love with her, professed love to her and all that. We stayed for about a year or two and all that. When I was serious and wanted to take it a step further, she wasn't giving me the opportunity to do the do. It came to a time she started giving me attitudes and stuff like that, and I said, okay, if that is the case, I'll go ahead with my first person, and then lo and behold, I married her. The moment I married her, she started complaining. And she was looking for me and calling me. I lied to her and all that. Still, I have that, soft spot for her. It has been something me. I don't know what to do. I don't know. But she's not giving me the opportunity to even approach her at the first place after I married. But I still have that soft spot for her. I don't know. It's a little bit complicated. I get a little upset. After I married.
She still has a soft spot for her. There's something about that woman that really attracted her to you. And that's why you still have the soft spot for her. But this is also another discovery that many people don't realize. When they are dating, people don't reveal their true selves. We are a little guarded in the dating relationship, especially because our desires are ultimately to get married. After we get married, now people let their guards down.
Yeah.
We are already in it. So then the people start picking on what they want, what they don't want, what they like, what they don't like. Well, I'm already in it. You can't go anywhere. So let's deal with it. Instead of using a lot of tact and wisdom to handle the issues. Back to the basics. When marriage issues and such issues come up, have healthy, honest conversations and find out what you like, what you don't like. How can we compromise? How can we agree? Somebody feels that you haven't spoken the truth to her, then it becomes a problem. And you see, I mentioned it earlier. Divorce is usually because uncommunicated expectations. So the woman may have had expectations which suddenly are not being met because of the way the man may have promised or spoken or even implied. They may not even have said it, but they may have implied or acted as if all is well, only for you to realize that, no, it is not as the person thought it should.
Okay. So we have a few more questions here. So this one is a comment. It says, this is a very educative program. I've learned a lot. Thanks. Thank you too. Okay. So this one says, good morning. Please, I need advice. When I ask my husband a question, he replies with a question. What do I do about it? And hey, the questions are coming. Okay, this one says, Yaira, could you please help me ask these questions? What are the pros and cons to consider when choosing a partner? Additionally, is it advisable to choose a partner if your parents do not support the relationship because they believe the partner is toxic, especially after being informed about some misunderstandings between you and your partner? This one, I was saying that we should have had a conversation about preparing for marriage before today, because people are asking, the single ones are also trying their luck here. But so a question like this, what are some of the pros and cons to consider when choosing a partner?
When choosing a partner, just a quick view. First and foremost, I always start from, what do you want? You must define what you want in a partner. And then you look at aspects, education, character, values, personality, belief systems, faith is the vital and key component. Even faith, denominations, doctrines, ability to provide, understanding about money, communication skills. When you don't consider carefully these decisions and you just walk into a marriage because of feelings, which most people start with, I love him, I don't love him. The feeling seems to be the first reason for which people make decisions. But it shouldn't. You should carefully consider character, values, beliefs, provision, understanding, reasoning before you put the feeling. Because when the feelings are fully blooming, now it's so difficult to put a break on it because of feelings now control you. And many people think emotionally, they don't think rationally. So when you start thinking emotionally, then it's going to create a problem. Now, when your parents feel that a partner is not right, most often they are talking from experience. And so it's so important to listen to them. Sometimes too, they may just be talking not from experience, but from sentiments. Again, from experience or beliefs or issues that have handled. So they become sentimental. Oh, my brother married this person and it happened like this. Married this tribe and it happened like this. So they have too many examples. They can be sentimental. Take time, prayerfully consider whatever they have said and ask God to help you make a conclusive decision. I believe it is so key. If not, you would fall into a trap and then you get problems in a few years.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hey, these questions. So this one says, good morning. I want to know what to do when your husband says he is emotionally detached from you. Hey, you're in trouble.
You can't do anything. He is emotionally detached from you. One, you can, if he's willing to speak up, find out what exactly has made him emotionally detached, find out what you can do to get that attachment back. He may find somebody else who may be supplying the emotional need he has. And that's how come you find out people start cheating on their partners, because they want to talk honestly, they need a listening ear. The wife is too busy, she's not listening to him. Because you see, look at a scenario. Two people go to work, they come home. When they come, he's sitting by the TV watching a sports news. She rushes to the kitchen, she wants to do homework. So a lot of women get so caught up in the routines and busyness of the home that they may not be present for their husband to speak to them, or their husbands to pour out their heart on them. And then the husband may also be pouring his heart, but he has his methodology. Like the question which says, my husband answers a question with a question. That's the way his thinking process operates. So it is a problem for you because you want an answer, but he gives you a question. He becomes an interrogative person, and he doesn't know that that's his reasoning and information processing style. He doesn't know how to give a straight answer. He wants to check, okay, is it brown? What kind of brown? Can it be changed? Can it be altered?
Before asking or
and he won't change.
Yeah.
So for you as a partner, when you identify that this is how my partner is, you learn to accept. And this is where the problem is. Many of us cannot accept it. It must change, and it can or cannot.
Okay. So this one says, good morning. I dated a guy for 21 years since JSS, but we are finally separated this year. And when I decided to quit, I saw he was verbally abusing me and he was not serious to perform the marriage rites, and we had 2 kids. I want to know if I took the wrong decision. Oh.
I don't think it's time to do blame game at this point. You already have 2 kids with him. You made a choice. Life is full of choices, and every choice has consequences. JSS was a young age, and I don't think at that age you had enough information and skill to have made a healthy decision. So that decision has cost you in terms of now you have children, you are not properly married, but now the marriage has become abusive. But it's not even a marriage, it's a cohabitation. And cohabitation for so many years can eventually, legally, has its own dimensions. So now you are moving out, but you must have reasons why. Is it because of the emotional, verbal abuse? Is it because he's not being responsible for the children? Is it because now you think you are mature enough and you want your space, or you want your sanity, or you feel that that security you want in marriage never got? In case he properly married her, would you have still stayed in? Or if he wants to, you still don't want it?
Wow. Okay, so this one says, good morning to you, Yaira, and your guest. I'm enjoying the conversation. I want to ask questions, but someone has already asked my questions, so I'll not ask again. Mommy is doing well with the explanations. God bless you all. Millicent, the team, money from Dobro. Thank you for your comment. Hey, people won't let me ask my questions. Okay. Hi, please, I need an advice. I've been dating this guy for 1.5 years now, but he has never supported me financially, but he's very calm and gentle, and I love him so much. I recently had this guy that supports me financially, but he's pressurizing me with sex issues all the time that I know wholeheartedly that I can't give out because I really love the other guy. What do I do? You people, this is a marriage conversation.
Now they have moved us to a dating conversation.
I think we'll have to have you back for the dating part.
Okay, let me throw honest questions. Why should you love one person and then you would be picking money from another person? That's unfair.
Well,
That's unfair.
the other one is not giving the money. So,
First and foremost, this is where many young women and both men fall into trouble. Dating is an opportunity to get to know one another. Then when you start a courtship, you have agreed, you've proposed, and you start a relationship towards marriage. Money, gifts, certain expensive things become a bait that now make it very difficult for you to let go when even the relationship is sour. Why should he be offering responsibilities of a husband when you are not married? And it becomes like an obligation. So many young women today go into relationships because of the financial gains. It's as if you are trading yourself for money. He loves you, but he doesn't owe you. When he marries you and he decides to provide, then it's his responsibility to provide. So you can love somebody and then make sure that you should also be responsible yourself, else you're going to be a liability on your partner in the few years' time. Gradually, you are being unfair to yourself and then to that partner.
Well. Hey, so this one says, good morning. God bless Mrs. Hannah, and her books are super great. Thank you for your comment. So the one who says the husband says he's emotionally detached from her, he says the husband is not staying with them. She's in Takoradi and he's in Accra, and they have 3 kids. So how will she navigate that?
That's tough. Long distance relationship. So definitely those are some of the challenges of a long distance relationship. So because of her absence, he's feeling it. And so that's why he's emotionally distant. 3 children, if they are with her, she's also overwhelmed with the responsibility of parenting alone. Now he has excess time because the children are not there. So now that emotional need, that sexual satisfaction may be absent. And then he's having thoughts because he has too much time to find what else to do with himself.
Then he should come to he should leave Accra and come, at least every weekend, come to an agreement or something. So this one says, good morning. Please, I need advice. I found out my husband still talks to his exes. Please, what should I do? Thank you.
When your husband is still talking to his exes, there's nothing you can do. But ideally, use a lot of wisdom to draw his attention to the fact that, one, you are aware if you have a healthy communication ongoing. And then also let him know the damage or danger it can cause to him and cause to your relationship, because it breeds suspicion, mistrust with time, and gradually you will not be too sure of what he's up to with his ex. Some continue innocently. They just feel like I still love her talk, but gradually they are swept into a trap by their exes. So it's always good to do a clean break, even though you may still remain friends, but from afar, without necessarily getting too engaged in everyday talks.
Okay. So I also had questions in mind, but I will find it. So yes, I think privacy. How much privacy is too much privacy, or how much access is too much access to your partner's gadgets and things like that?
It all depends on both of you.
Okay.
What is really important to one may not be to another. Some people are very private. They grew up private. They love their space. They don't want intrusion, even if they are married. And so you must learn to understand your partner, what he or she wants. I don't mind my gadgets being run through, but I think I may mind when some of my documents are being gone through without me being aware.
Okay.
But others may not have a problem with it. So each person must set boundaries and talk about it. Within this environment, maybe my work environment, these are my boundaries. My personal life, these are my boundaries. But we are married. So even the boundaries should not be so stringent where it will create suspicion. It must just be trusting, but we know that, okay, I just understand that this is what he or she wants, and I give it to them.
So something like, fine, I think it is generally allowed, you can take your spouse's phone and use and all that, but what about going through every single conversation they have on their phones and things like that? can it be termed as too much?
That's intrusive for some.
That's intrusive for some. Okay.
For others, it's not. So everybody and how they see some of these issues. It can be very intrusive for some, but for others, they are okay.
Okay.
I remember my husband could leave his phone and I'll be replying his messages on his behalf. He may have so many messages and he forgets to reply. And I will reply everything. And then he'll be like, who did that? And I was like, I did it on your behalf. And he'll be okay with it. Another person may not be.
Okay, okay. So I wanted to also ask about the insecurity thing, because if you have a partner who doesn't want you to move forward in life, personally, if we are dating and I notice something like that, I will pack my things, because why would you want to stifle somebody? So how do you navigate that? Because you probably definitely love the person. So with something like that, or maybe in the marriage, you come and realize that all those talks were just for campaign. He was just all about self-development just to get you. But now you're in the marriage and he says, no, we are here to make babies.
Yeah.
And you can't further your education.
Yeah.
Something like that. Is that grounds for quitting the marriage?
That's not grounds for quitting the marriage. It's just that it's going to create a lot of tension and problem for you. Because you see, that decision to get married is something to be considered carefully. You must read my next book, The Wedding Bells. I was telling you about it.
Yeah, you have it?
Yes, I have a copy of it.
Okay.
It's an interesting conversation starter, great for singles and even married, about the right questions that must be asked and considered before marriage. Personal development is important, and you must agree that everybody would want to develop at one point in time or the other. But sometimes some partners are stifling. They always have an excuse why you can't move forward. You must converse about it, and then at a point, make informed decisions. If you're already married, it's not immediately a basis for divorce, but there are alternative ways.
Okay.
So, for example, you want to travel 3 years to Canada to go and do a schooling. But because of your young babies, you may have to compromise and do maybe a course within your country or maybe an online program. But you are still developing. So find compromising situations without necessarily losing it all and say that it's either Canada or nothing.
Okay.
And then you make
sure.
But
you see, some of them, I was coming from the perspective of, he doesn't want you to do any education thing. Like you are a wife, be a wife.
Housewife.
The education, those kinds of people.
Yeah.
But you see, you mentioned that during the courtship, people don't truly reveal who they are. So probably in the courtship, he was behaving all progressive.
It's okay.
Then now you're locked up with him.
Yeah, you are locked up with him, so you would have to find a way out. There are many going through that. I know a girl who got a scholarship to go to the US. She's not even married. And the man is like, no, he doesn't stand for women who want to progress. I told her, move out. Don't even bother to get married. Forget it.
Yes. That's my language. Okay, so we have a comment here. It says, so about the long-distance relationship, a key factor to sustain a good relationship is constant communication, from Jerusha and Ophelia. Yeah. Thank you so much for your comment. Hey, we have... Please, it's okay. We are wrapping up. So this one says, please, I want to ask a question again. Whenever I try to talk about it, then he will be like there's nothing going on. But they called late at night and some of them are married with kids. Okay, so these are his exes. So the person whose spouse is speaking with the exes, please, can you help me on how I should talk about it with him, please?
So it's simply... like we said, just find an occasion where both of you are comfortable, you are happy, tensions are down. Then you draw his attention to the fact that you are getting a little uncomfortable with those conversations late at night with his exes, and that you believe that it can create undue suspicion, insecurity, mistrust. So if he can slow down on it, and if he respects her, he will listen to her without brushing it aside. But if he does, then it's already an indication that there's either a problem in the marriage for which he's looking for an alternative with his exes. And then you can prayerfully maybe look for a third party, prayerfully.
Okay.
Because if not, that can also create another conflict.
So, as for this comment, I don't even know whether to read it, but he says he's following closely and enjoying it, but he noticed that it is centered on women. It just seems women don't cause problems in marriages or relationship. I believe that's unfair. Good morning. So I'll send your questions. Send whatever problem you've caused.
Women cause a lot of problems. Maybe the questions that have come have made it look like it has been skewed to women. But whatever we are saying relates to spouses, and spouses could be male or female.
Okay.
There are a lot of women who are giving men a lot of hell in marriage. There are women who are over-demanding, overbearing, with unrealistic expectations, very disrespectful. There are women who are not submissive. And so his question is very, very welcome, and he's very truthful. A lot of women are causing so much unrest. I have a son who says, men are going through a lot. Men are going through a lot. I think I want to do a show like that.
Yes, we will
going through a
definitely
lot.
have you back. So another comment, I think, is to help the ex people. This one is from Jerusha and Ophelia again. About keeping in touch with your ex, it depends on how the relationship ended. If you can both be matured about it, fine. If not, just stay away from each other, from rekindling any old flames, and protect your marriage. Thank you so much. This one also says, thank you very much, Mommy. God bless you. So this is from the person who was asking about the exes. Please, we have finished. It's okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Hannah Abrams up here.
Thank you.
We would like to take your final words to the public, married and single alike. And I will talk with my producers, and then we'll arrange again, probably to have a dating conversation, and then maybe we'll continue the marriage one subsequently, because there's a lot we need to cover. So yes, your final words, please.
I think the next one we'll talk about men are going through a lot.
Yes, okay, that's fine.
we have to talk for the men. But my final words is God created marriage with an intention for good, raising godly children, for companionship. When the principles of marriage are understood, then the foundations are laid right. A healthy relationship, healthy marriage, willingness to grow, willingness to work on yourself, to have the desired results and intention. Marriage is good, but it's a lot of work. It involves responsibility. It involves willingness to change. It involves being abreast with the times, and then prayerfully forgiving one another and learning to love. It is possible to have a healthy marriage, and it is possible to maintain it in the years God gives you together. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So this brings us to the end of the KOKO Digest Morning Show. A few questions are coming in, but I apologize. I can't read them. Our time is up. So I would advise that you stay tuned to Clock TV. And for the next time we have our madam here, our mommy here, you can ask your questions again. I will try and keep them in mind so that the next time I can read them to her to answer for you. So yes, as I said, this brings us to the end of the KOKO Digest Morning Show. Thank you so much, cherished viewers, for watching. Thank you to everyone that had a question, everyone that had a comment, everyone that called in. Thank you so, so much. A big thank you to our sponsors, our management. A big thank you to our technical team. A big thank you to everybody, Papa J, Papa C. Thank you all so, so much for making this show a success. We will see you next month, next Tuesday, bright and early. Do have a blissful day and weekend ahead.
Clog TV. Beyond the policy.